And we're back in the Gunners Club and having a cold frothy.
Welcome back to the Gunners Club, and yes, you're here with Gunner and of course with Seuss. And we thought what we'd do is just bring you to another little nook.
A nook.
Of the Gunners Club. And tell you a little bit about what we do and have a bit of a chat about things that we love. Now, Seussology, what we try to do is talk to you about really what life is like in Australia and in the decadent West. We cover a lot of politics, economics, history, warfare, basically anything that's pertinent to you. And what we try to do is share it with a bit of a classical underpinning and a good dollop of lyrical attitude as well.
Not to mention a cold one.
A cold one as well. Now, four-wheel drives, Seuss.
Yes.
Does size matter? Because I've always been equipped on the sort of miniature size.
Hang on, we're still talking four-wheel drive?
Yeah, so remember, you convinced me to buy the Suzuki.
Did I convince you?
You did, yeah. It was a great purchase too.
Yeah, well, it was. And you even got some air under there, eh?
I did. Now, no one told me that when you go to a trail bike park with a four-wheel drive, you're not supposed to be able to do the stuff these trail bikes do. Let me tell you, I could. I paid for it later, but I certainly could. I had a Canadian-made Grand Vitara, a soft top.
Yes,
I think by rights I was supposed to be wearing a helmet, a motorcycle helmet, doing what I did.
Yeah, I mean, you went over that crest and you got some air.
It was absolutely beautiful. But Seuss, you've been doing four-wheel driving, I think, for 30 years or something like that. And I even saw you on the nation's broadcaster. Now, I don't often mention the name ABC, but I remember seeing you on an ABC program there, and at the time, you were extricating a four-wheel drive from the mud. So you've been in the sport for a while.
I was. But Jesus, that does take me back.
Yes.
I was working as a
waitress at a cocktail bar?
Yeah, but I didn't have my tutu on. No, I was working for a Japanese tractor firm at the time, Kubota Tractors.
That's right. And every time I asked you, Sis, what you did, you would always deadpan say, as little as possible.
Well, and rightly so.
So I don't want to know what you did there, because that to me it's communistically beautiful.
But anyway, it had some perks. Right, it had some perks because we could borrow the machines, and they could write it off on their books as being a show day or a demonstration day, that sort of thing. And we take it out to these four-wheel drive events, and it would be used as a recovery vehicle because they were always the little four-wheel drive tractors. So that was always handy. But on one particular occasion, I got a bit close with one of the supervisors, and he lent me 4 tractor tyres, which happened to be 7x16, which would fit perfectly on my Suzuki.
On a Suzuki.
Yeah, on a Suzuki.
So
I've got
agricultural tractor tyres fitted on.
You know,
you had what you used to refer to as a lunchbox, didn't you? It was a Sierra.
No, it wasn't Sierra.
What was it?
Well, originally it was the LJ50. Mm-hmm. Which started off as a 500cc two-stroke.
That's right, 500cc.
Two-stroke. And
I think you can buy bigger containers of milk at the local shop.
But anyway, it didn't last as a 500cc two-stroke for too long because, I think pretty much every single four-wheel drive I've had, except for the very current one, has been seriously modified.
Okay, is this current one that you have, which is the Isuzu, go back, have a look at our video because we do cover it. Is that your first diesel four-wheel drive?
No, I had a diesel four-wheel drive before that. But anyway, this Suzuki stayed probably for maybe 6 months as a two-stroke until I got sick of that. And then I think probably my first marriage breakup was probably as a result of that.
Well, one of them had to go.
Yeah, well, I mean, she had a Corolla, a little 1200, 4-stroke, 1200cc Corolla.
Was it Oscar Wilde who stayed at the hotel and said that one of these things has got to go, either the carpet or myself? So, was one of those relationships, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, she went off for a weekend to visit her parents in Bendigo, and I thought, well, there's an engine in that Corolla that would probably look better in my Suzuki.
You took it from the Corolla.
Yes. And it ended up in the Suzuki. God, that Suzuki went well. You know, I could beat a V8 off of the lights with that Suzuki.
With the Corolla engine.
With a 1200cc Corolla. Well, we're talking power to weight ratio here. But for probably the first 100 metres, and then it would just leave me in the smoke.
My God.
Oh, we got rain. It is the weather in Melbourne. We'll be back shortly.
Now, you replaced the engine in the Suzuki, and I understood it flew, as you said, the Bard said, it flew like shit off of a shiny shovel.
Well,
is that correct?
Yeah, shit off a greased shiny shovel.
Now, this is not the first car that's actually had a heart transplant with you, is it, Seuss?
Well, I got the bug after that.
Yeah.
Pretty much every single four-wheel drive I had after that has had major modifications.
I drove one of the classic Toorak tractors. Now, Toorak is the rich part of Melbourne. An old Range Rover that had the original, was it a 3.5 V8 engine in it, which really had no go whatsoever at all.
It was a 3.5 Rover V8. Yeah.
That's right. And you decided, well, in fact, it needed to have a General Motors V8 put in it. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, it was a 5 litre. Yeah, that's right.
It had a bit more poke, didn't it?
Yeah, well, not only did it have more poke, did it have more poke?
Yes.
But it was more fuel efficient.
Is that right?
It seriously was, because it wasn't working anywhere near as hard or revving anywhere near as hard.
Now, I grew up watching The Bill, that crime series from Britain, and all of the police cars there were powered by that V8 3.5.
Yeah.
But they had no go at all, did they?
No, but they were the actual Rover sedans.
That's right, they were.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I went further than that with the Range Rover, because towards the end, after I put the 5 litre Holden V8 in it,
that's right,
the GM V8.
GM V8.
When you put it into low range and you're going down a hill, it didn't have that braking capacity.
Oh, the resistance.
Yeah, but so it was either change the gearing in the transfer case, which you could get the gearing out of the UK to do that.
Gosh.
But then if you ever broke anything, you'd have to send back to the UK again to get a... So I said, no,
this was pre-internet, folks.
Yeah.
Really. Well, internet was there, but it wasn't really on the scene, was it?
No, it was more like bulletin boards and stuff like that back then. But anyway, so we decided we'd come up with a different idea to lower the gear ratio. We changed the diff. Because it doesn't matter whether you change it in the gearbox or the transfer case or the diffs, so long as the gear ratio
changed.
Yeah. So we changed the diff. So what happened was we ended up putting an 80 series Land Cruiser rear end in it, and a GQ Nissan Patrol front end in it, which basically made it bulletproof. Because they are serious diffs. Yeah, that really, I mean, you could be going down a 45-degree slope like that, and it would literally just lope, at less than walking pace, and without having to touch the brake. It was just amazing.
Now, for anyone outside of Australia, you really can't conceive just how important to our psyche the Toyota Land Cruiser is. I mean, it is the god, basically, of forward driving since very late 70s, start of early 80s.
Well, that's right. It is our equivalent of the Jeep in the US, or the Land Rover equivalent in the UK.
Yeah, so we were always really big on Land Rover. It basically held the market. The snowy mountain development, a lot of immigrants came across, particularly from southern Europe, for that development, and they were used to that vehicle. We were used to that vehicle as well through the army.
Yeah, that's
I was
right.
used to it through the 110. I think you were Series 3 and Series 2.
That's it.
Is what you're used to. And my younger brother used to manufacture panels for the Series 1 and Series 2 in the backyard. Couldn't quite get the paint mix right, so actually ended up getting the phone number for one of the original men with grey beards in Britain. The man was blind at the time. Rang him up and tried to get the chemical formula for the original paint job, and got it.
Wow.
And ended up exporting homemade backyard Melbourne panels for Series 1 and 2 to Britain. So well done to you, younger brother. But something very tragic has just happened. Now, my question to you was, does size matter? Look, I had a lot of fun with Suzuki, but Toyota has made a major announcement which I think is going to shock a lot of Australians. They're getting rid of the V8 from the Land Cruiser.
Yeah, that's true. However, the Nissan has still got the V8 petrol,
Yes.
and that is a formidable beast. A serious, formidable beast.
Formidable. But the thing about Australia is that if you haven't been here and you haven't experienced agriculture and you don't understand the dimensions of this place, 25 million people living on a continent. Could you imagine that, people in Europe? 25 million people on a continent.
25 million people living in the US. Think of that.
That's right. I remember an American saying, when presented with those figures, they said, you just must not see anyone. Well, it depends where you are. But if you have, let's say, a sheep station or a beef station, and it's the size of Cornwall, you're going to rely on that V8 Land Cruiser quite a lot.
Well, I mean, it would be the equivalent in WA of the state of Texas, which is one sheep station or cattle station.
It's a really good analogy because WA and Texas still have that constitutional anomalies as well. So
Yeah.
that's really well presented, actually. WA is absolutely huge. Still has a right to secede from Australia. New Zealand, if you're listening, you still have the right to come into Australia as well. We'll talk about that later.
But the question is, do you want to?
Now, the Suzuki Jimny, is that the spiritual successor to the Sierra?
Yeah, look,
Yeah.
They were a much more rounded little get-about, but nowadays they've gone back to their roots and they've become more square in
Yes.
their presentation.
Yeah, look, Suzuki, it becomes you. And
Yeah.
you've got a little bit of a cult car in Australia at the moment.
Yep.
With the Jimny. People want it. I understand the waiting lists are actually quite large as well.
Yeah, they are.
Well done.
Yeah,
It's about time, let's be honest.
they're not the old two-strokes. They're four-strokes. I don't know whether they're 1100 or 1200 cc's or something like that, but they get about. They get up and go. I don't know what they're like in a bush. I haven't driven one in one of the new ones, but
Well, my Suzuki was a 1.6. It was strictly for the road, but the underpinnings were so good that even with the standard tyres, I had a lot of fun. Now, you know what it's like. Does size matter? No, not if you're surrounded by large forward drives who can pull you out of peril.
exactly.
But the problem is, if they get stuck, you can't return the favour.
So yeah, we've had a lot of fun. I mean, I had the old FJ series Land Cruiser, the old yellow Terror there.
Yep, known and loved. And actually, they did a retro release of that, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
And we
Yes,
used to
they
call it the
did.
Choc Top because it looked a bit like the chocolate-topped ice creams that you get in the cinemas as a kid.
That's it. And that ended up with a V8 and two V8s. It ended up with a 253 GM, and then it ended up with a 308 GM. So
Wow.
yeah, I've had quite a bit of.
Now,
playing
you
around with
love
them.
your Isuzu. You think that's incredibly competent off-road, don't you?
Oh, it completely exceeded expectations. But it's a whole new generation of four-wheel drives to what we used to play with.
Look, it was really interesting, though, wasn't it? Because the General Motors Colorado was a big player in the Australian market, let's say about
For a
7
while,
years ago.
Yep,
And for a period, they were sharing an Isuzu engine.
exactly right. Yes.
That's right.
Until the GFC.
That's right.
Until the GFC.
And then what happened?
Well, GM offloaded Isuzu, saying,
Yeah.
you guys, you
Go your
guys
own
can
way.
fend for
You
yourself.
can go your own way.
Yeah.
Yeah, as per the song.
So anyway, some years later, they brought out the Colorado.
Which actually was not a bad car.
No. And they approached Isuzu saying, yeah, we want your engines for this thing. And Isuzu said to them in not so kind words that we weren't good enough for you at the time that you offloaded us. You can't have our engines now.
Yeah, I think Billy Connolly said it best when he said, F off, he hinted. If you want Tatslotty tomorrow, just to finish off, which four-wheel drive would you buy?
I think I'd probably go the Nissan V8.
Nissan V8.
Yeah, we're talking close to 100 grand
Yep.
Australian.
Yep.
Close to 100 grand. But It is.
It's wearing big boy pants, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, think of the Bushmaster.
When you think of the
in Cape-
Bushmaster, if you haven't seen it before, think of the Ukraine. There's an awful lot of Bushmasters doing service there.
Think of the military Bushmaster.
Some made in Australia, some made in South Korea, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is,
Kamsahamnida.
think of the Bushmaster in its capabilities off-road while driving an armchair. That's what it's like.
Friends of ours in America, how do you rank the Jeep? Let us know. Like,
I'm
subscribe.
sorry, I got to laugh at you if you do rank it at all.
Like, subscribe. We've got plenty of adventures. Most of ours are on serious topics like politics, economics, that sort of thing. Life in the decadent West. We'll catch you for more adventures.
Not decadent enough. I want more decadence. Catch you on the next one.